The clock struck midnight. Fireworks exploded across the sky. Champagne glasses clinked in living rooms all across America. But I wasn't there. I was sitting alone. In a small apartment. No decorations. No music. No family. Just me. A cold pizza. And the silence. Because my family had banned me from New Year's Eve. Not just uninvited me. Banned me. Like I was a stranger. Like I was a criminal. Like the last 29 years of being their daughter meant absolutely nothing. My father said the words himself. You are not welcome in this house. Not tonight. Not ever again. You've embarrassed this family for the last time. My mother stood behind him. Silent. My brother and sister? They didn't even look at me. The door closed. Locked. And I stood there in the cold December air, wondering how I had become the villain in my own family's story. But here's the thing about that night. That cold, lonely, devastating night. It wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. Because exactly 3 weeks later, everything changed. I became rich. Not comfortable. Not well off. Rich. The kind of rich that makes headlines. The kind of rich that makes people stare. The kind of rich that made my father, the same man who slammed his door in my face, come crawling back with tears in his eyes. And what I told him that day changed everything. For him. For my family. For me. Before we go any further, I want to know something. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. And while you're at it, tell me, have you ever been treated like the black sheep of your family? Like nothing you did was ever good enough? Drop a comment. You're not alone. My name is Josephine Palmer. But everyone has always called me Josie. Everyone except my father. He called me the problem. Not to my face. At least not at first. But I heard it. When he thought I wasn't listening. When he talked to my mother in their bedroom. When he spoke to relatives at family gatherings. That one is the problem. Always has been. Don't know where we went wrong with her. I was the youngest of 3 children. My brother Thomas was the oldest. Star athlete. Straight A student. Captain of everything. My father's pride and joy. My sister Catherine was the middle child. Beauty queen. Prom queen. Homecoming queen. Every queen you can imagine. My mother's perfect daughter. And then there was me. Josie. The one who didn't fit. The one who asked too many questions. The one who dreamed too big. The one who was never ever good enough. Let me tell you about my family. The Palmers of Cedar Valley, Ohio. My father, Harold Palmer, owned a car dealership. The biggest in the county. Palmer Motors, where honesty meets value. That was his slogan. Funny considering everything that happened later. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My father was a big man. Loud voice. Firm handshake. The kind of man who walked into a room and expected everyone to notice. And they did. In Cedar Valley, Harold Palmer was royalty. He sat on the town council. He sponsored the Little League teams. He gave the biggest donation to the church every Christmas. Everyone loved Harold Palmer. Everyone except the people who really knew him. My mother, Darlene, was the perfect wife. At least on the outside. Perfect hair. Perfect makeup. Perfect smile. She hosted the dinner parties. She organized the charity events. She stood by my father's side at every public function, laughing at his jokes, agreeing with his opinions, never saying a word out of turn. But at home my mother was a ghost. She moved through rooms without making a sound. She spoke in whispers. She looked at my father the way you might look at a storm, with fear and respect and a desperate hope that it would pass you by. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Families that look perfect on the outside but are broken on the inside. If you grew up in a home like that, drop a comment and let me know. You'd be surprised how many of us share the same story. From the time I could walk, I was different. Not in ways that were obvious. I didn't have purple hair or pierced everything. I didn't rebel openly. I was just myself. And in my family, being yourself was the worst crime imaginable. I asked questions. Dad, why do you yell at Mom when she didn't do anything wrong? Dad, why do you tell customers their cars are worth less than they are and then sell them for more? Dad, why do you? Enough, Josephine. Go to your room. That was always the answer. Go to your room. Stop asking questions. Be quiet. Be invisible. Be more like your brother. Be more like your sister. Be anyone but yourself. Thomas was 4 years older than me. And he was everything I wasn't. Athletic. Charming. He could do no wrong in my father's eyes. When Thomas got a C on a test, my father said, the teacher must have made a mistake. When I got an A, my father said, must have been an easy test. When Thomas crashed my father's car at 17, my father said, boys will be boys. When I scratched the family minivan pulling into the garage, my father didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. For a scratch the size of my finger. Catherine was 2 years older than me. And she had learned early how to survive in our family. She became exactly what our mother was. Perfect on the outside. Empty on the inside. She smiled when my father wanted her to smile. She agreed when he wanted agreement. She dated the boys he approved of. She wore the clothes he thought were appropriate. She gave up every piece of herself, one piece at a time, until there was nothing left but a pretty shell. I watched this happen. Year after year. And I made a decision. I would not become like them. I would not lose myself. Even if it meant being the outcast. Even if it meant being the problem. When I was 16, I had my first real clash with my father. It was career day at school. We were supposed to write an essay about what we wanted to be when we grew up. Thomas had written about taking over the dealership. Of course. Catherine had written about marrying well and raising a family. Of course. But me. I wrote about starting my own business. Not just any business. Technology company. I wanted to create something new. Something that didn't exist yet. Something that would help people. My teacher loved the essay. She said I had vision and passion. She submitted it to a state competition. I won 3rd place. I was so proud. I came home with my trophy, my certificate, my heart bursting with joy. I showed my father. He looked at it for maybe 3 seconds. Then he set it down. Technology company? That's your dream? To sit in front of a computer all day like some kind of nerd. Dad, it's a real career. People are making millions. People like Mark Zuckerberg. People with rich parents and Harvard degrees. Not people like us, Josephine. Not people from Cedar Valley. But, you want to help this family? You want to make me proud? Go to community college. Learn bookkeeping. Work at the dealership. That's a real future. Not this fantasy nonsense. He walked away. Left my trophy on the kitchen table. My mother picked it up later. Put it in a box in the basement. I never saw it again. I graduated high school with honors. Nobody in my family came to the ceremony. Thomas had a golf tournament. Catherine had a wedding to attend. My parents said the ceremony was too long and boring. They said they would celebrate at home. They didn't. That night they went to dinner with Thomas and his girlfriend. I found out later from a photo my mother posted on Facebook. The caption said, "Celebrating our wonderful son." Not a word about my graduation. Not a single word. Have you ever achieved something big and had no one to celebrate with? That lonely feeling when your biggest moments go unnoticed? Tell me about it in the comments. Sometimes just sharing helps. I applied to colleges in secret. Not community college. Real universities. Far away from Cedar Valley. Far away from my family. I worked part-time at a coffee shop to save money for application fees. I wrote my essays at night after everyone was asleep. I asked my English teacher to write my recommendation letters. And when the acceptance letters came, I hid them in my room. Until I got the one I wanted. A full scholarship to State University. 4 hours away. A degree in business and technology. My ticket out. You're what? My father's face was red. Veins popping in his neck. The same look he got when someone tried to negotiate too hard at the dealership. I got a full scholarship, Dad. I didn't even use your money. That's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is that you went behind my back. The point is that you're abandoning this family. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm going to college. Like Thomas did. Thomas went to state for business so he could take over the dealership. You're going to study, what? Technology? Computers? This is ridiculous. My mother stood in the doorway, wringing her hands. Harold, maybe we should. Stay out of this, Darlene. She closed her mouth. Stepped back. Disappeared. Like always. I looked at my father. Really looked at him. And I said the words I'd been holding inside for years. I'm going. With or without your blessing. I'm going. He stared at me. His daughter. The problem. Fine, he said finally. Go. But don't come crying back when you fail. Don't come asking for money when your little technology company falls apart. You're on your own, Josephine. Completely on your own. That's exactly what I want. I walked out of the room, and I didn't look back. College was hard. Not the classes. The classes were the easy part. The hard part was being alone. Truly alone. No family calling to check in. No care packages. No visits on parents' weekend. I watched other students hug their mothers and fathers. I watched them introduce their parents to their friends. I watched them cry when it was time to say goodbye. And I sat in my dorm room, alone. I tried calling home sometimes. In the beginning, my mother would answer, whisper, "Josie, is everything okay?" "Everything's fine, Mom. I just wanted to say hi." "That's nice, dear. Your father isn't home right now, but..." I didn't call for Dad. I called for you. Silence. Always silence. "I have to go, Josie. The roast is in the oven." After a while I stopped calling. What was the point? In my junior year I had an idea. A real idea. The kind that keeps you up at night. The kind that makes your heart race. See, I had been working part-time at a local business. A small printing shop. The owner was a nice old man named Mr. Hendricks. He was struggling. "I can't compete with the online companies," he told me. "They're faster. Cheaper. I don't know what to do." That's when it hit me. What if small businesses could have the same technology as big companies? What if there was a simple system that helped them manage everything? Inventory, customers, orders, shipping, all in one place. What if it was affordable enough for anyone to use? I started working on it. Nights. Weekends. Every spare moment. I taught myself to code. I read every book I could find. I talked to other business owners. I learned what they needed. And slowly, very slowly, I started building it. By the time I graduated, I had a working prototype. Nothing fancy. Just a basic system that did the essentials. But it worked. Mr. Hendricks tried it. His eyes lit up. "Josie, this is incredible. I saved 3 hours this week just on paperwork." That was all I needed to hear. I knew I was onto something. This is the moment when everything could have changed. One idea. One prototype. One person who believed in it. But the road ahead was going to be harder than I ever imagined. Before we continue, I want to ask, have you ever had a dream that everyone else thought was crazy? An idea that only you believed in? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear about your dreams. I graduated with honors. Dean's List. Top of my class. I sent an invitation to my family. No response. On graduation day, I walked across that stage alone. Took my diploma. Smiled for the camera. And felt absolutely nothing. Because what's the point of achievement when there's no one to share it with? After graduation I had nowhere to go. My apartment lease was ending. I had no job lined up. I had my prototype but no money to develop it further. So I did something I promised myself I'd never do. I went home. Just for a few months, I told myself. Just until I figure out my next move. I should have known better. My mother hugged me at the door. A real hug. The first one in years. "I'm so glad you're home, Josie." But my father? He looked at me like I was a stray dog that had wandered onto his property. "So you're back. What happened?" Reality hit a little too hard. "I'm just here temporarily, Dad. I'm working on something." "Working on what?" "A business. A technology platform for small businesses." He laughed. Actually laughed. "Still chasing that fantasy? After 4 years of college you're still playing pretend." "It's not pretend. I have a working prototype. I just need..." "You need a reality check, that's what you need. Look around, Josephine. Your brother is running half the dealership now. Your sister is married to a doctor. They're successful. They're making something of themselves. And you're 22 years old with nothing to show for it but a piece of paper and a prototype." He shook his head. Pathetic. He walked away. And my mother followed him. Like always. I lived in my parents' basement for the next few months. Not by choice. By necessity. I worked on my platform every single day. Improving it. Adding features. Fixing bugs. I applied for small business grants. Got rejected. Applied again. Got rejected again. I pitched to local investors. They laughed at me. A girl from Cedar Valley? Starting a tech company? That's adorable. Every door I knocked on was slammed in my face. But I kept going. Because giving up would mean my father was right. And I would rather die than prove him right. Every Sunday my family had dinner together. It was mandatory. Thomas would come with his wife, Rebecca. A perfectly polished woman who looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. Catherine would come with her husband, Dr. Bradley Morrison. A surgeon who never missed an opportunity to remind everyone how important he was. Me. I would sit at the end of the table. Ignored. Invisible. Thomas, tell everyone about the new sales record. Catherine, show us pictures from Bradley's medical conference. Thomas, your father says you might expand to a second location. Catherine, when are you going to give us grandchildren? And then, Josephine, are you still playing with computers in the basement? Laughter. Every Sunday. The same jokes. The same dismissal. The same message. You are nothing. Some of you are nodding right now. You know what it's like to be the invisible one at the family table. The one whose achievements are ignored. The one whose dreams are jokes. If that's you, I see you. Drop a comment and tell me about it. We're in this together. 6 months after coming home, I finally caught a break. A small business grant. $25,000. It wasn't much. But it was enough. Enough to rent a tiny office space. Enough to buy better equipment. Enough to start hiring. Just one person at first. A developer named Marcus who believed in my vision. He was fresh out of college. Hungry. Willing to work for almost nothing because he saw what I saw. This thing is going to change everything, he said. You really think so? I know so. I've worked on a lot of projects. This one is special. That day, for the first time in years, I felt hope. We launched a beta version 6 months later. Nothing fancy. Just a simple, affordable system for small businesses. We priced it low. So low that anyone could afford it. You'll never make money that way, my father said when he heard. It's not about making money right now. It's about proving the concept. Concept. There's that word again. Concepts don't pay bills, Josephine. But here's the thing. The concept worked. Small businesses started signing up. 10 the first month. 50 the second. 200 by month 6. Word spread. Business owners told other business owners. Reviews popped up online. Finally, a system that small businesses can actually afford. This saved my company thousands of dollars. Why didn't someone think of this sooner? We were growing. Slowly. But steadily. You'd think my family would notice. Would be proud. Would acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't completely crazy. But no. At Sunday dinners the conversation was still the same. Thomas this. Catherine that. Josie. Still playing with computers. I stopped talking about my business at family dinners. What was the point? They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want me to succeed. Because if I succeeded it would mean my father was wrong. And Harold Palmer was never wrong. By the second year we had 2,000 clients. I had hired 5 more people. We moved to a bigger office. We were actually making money. Not a lot. But enough. Enough that I could move out of my parents' basement. Enough that I could rent my own apartment. Enough that I could start believing this might actually work. I invited my mother to see my office. She came one Tuesday afternoon. Looked around at the computers, the desks, the whiteboard covered in ideas. This is nice, Josie. Thanks, Mom. I'm really proud of what we've built. Your father doesn't know I'm here. I know. She was quiet for a moment. He's scared, you know. Scared? That? Of what? Of being wrong. Of losing control. Of watching you become something he never thought you could be. That's not my problem, Mom. No, it's not. But I wanted you to know. I see you, Josie. I see what you're doing. And I'm proud of you. He hugged me. Quick. Furtive. Like she was doing something forbidden. And then she left. That was the most my mother had ever said to me. And it would be a long time before she said that much again. Sometimes the smallest moments of support mean everything. A quick word. A hug. Someone saying, I see you. Have you ever had a moment like that? Someone who quietly believed in you when everyone else doubted? Tell me about them in the comments. By year 3, everything accelerated. 10,000 clients. Then 20,000. Then 50,000. We weren't just a small startup anymore. We were becoming a real company. Tech blogs started writing about us. The small business revolution. How one woman is changing everything for Main Street America. David versus Goliath. Meet the startup taking on the big guys. I was invited to speak at conferences, interviewed for podcasts, featured in magazines, and through it all my family stayed silent. Not a word. Not a text. Not a single congratulations. Then came the call that changed everything. A venture capital firm from Silicon Valley, Blackstone Ventures, one of the biggest in the world. They wanted to meet with me. I flew out to California, sat in a conference room with 6 people in expensive suits. They asked questions for 3 hours about the technology, the business model, the growth potential, and at the end the lead partner leaned forward. Josephine, we want to invest. My heart stopped. How much are we talking? $20 million. For a 20% stake. I couldn't breathe. $20 million. Valuing my company at $100 million. A company I started in my parents' basement. A company everyone laughed at. A company my father called pathetic. $100 million. I didn't say yes right away. I flew home. Thought about it. Called my advisor. Called my lawyer. Ran the numbers. And then I made the call. We're in. The money hit our account 2 weeks later. $20 million. And with it everything changed. We hired an executive team. Built a new headquarters. Expanded to 43 countries. Our client base exploded. 500,000 businesses. Then 1 million. Then 2 million. We were in newspapers. On television. Everywhere. And still, my family said nothing. Not a word. This brings us to the moment that started this whole story. The New Year's Eve that changed everything. It was December 28th. 4 days before the end of the year. I had just closed another round of funding. $50 million this time. Valuing my company at $400 million. I was officially one of the most successful female entrepreneurs in the country. And I decided to do something stupid. I decided to go home. To try one more time. To prove that I was worthy of my family's love. I drove to Cedar Valley on December 28th. Parked in my parents' driveway. The house looked the same as it always had. Brick exterior. Perfectly manicured lawn. Christmas decorations that cost more than some people's monthly rent. I took a deep breath. Walked to the door. Knocked. My mother answered. Josie. What are you doing here? Hi, Mom. I wanted to surprise everyone. She looked nervous. Glanced behind her. This isn't a good time, honey. Why not? Your father he's in a mood. When is he ever not in a mood? Before she could answer, I heard his voice. Who's at the door? And then he appeared. Harold Palmer. My father. Looking at me like I was a door-to-door salesman he wanted to chase away. Josephine. What do you want? I wanted to see my family for the holidays. You should have called first. Would you have answered? He didn't respond. Dad, look. I know we've had our differences. But it's been 4 years. 4 years since I left for college. I've built something real. Something I'm proud of. I just wanted to share it with you. Share what? Your little computer company. It's not little anymore, Dad. We have 2 million clients. We just closed a $50 million investment round. We're valued at. I don't care about your valuations. The words hit like a slap. What? I said I don't care. All that money, all that success. What does it mean? You're still the same girl who went behind her family's back. Who abandoned us to chase some ridiculous dream. You think money makes you better than us. I never said I was better than anyone. Your whole existence says it. Every article. Every interview. Self-made success story. Started with nothing. You know what people in Cedar Valley think when they read that? They think you're ashamed of us. They think you're saying we gave you nothing. That's not. It's exactly what you're saying. And I won't have it. Not in my house. This is the moment I realized something. My father wasn't angry because I failed. He was angry because I succeeded. My success was his failure. And he couldn't handle that. Have you ever had someone resent your success? Someone who should have been proud but was jealous instead? Share your experience in the comments. I tried one more time. Dad, I'm not trying to embarrass anyone. I'm trying to make you proud. Proud? You want me to be proud that my daughter left her family to become some tech millionaire in California? that she's on magazine covers bragging about how she did it all alone. I did do it alone. Because you weren't there. Because none of you were there. The silence was deafening. My mother had retreated to the kitchen. My father stood there red-faced, trembling with rage. Get out. What? You heard me. Get out of my house. Dad. You're not welcome here. Not today. Not ever. You want to be alone so badly? Fine. Be alone. But don't come here expecting us to celebrate your success. It's Christmas. Not for you. Not in this house. Leave, Josephine. Now. That's when Thomas appeared. Golden boy Thomas. With his perfect wife beside him. What's going on? Your sister was just leaving. Thomas looked at me. Not with sympathy. Not with sadness. With annoyance. Josie, maybe just go. You're upsetting everyone. I'm upsetting everyone? I just wanted to see my family. You should have thought about that before you spent the last 4 years acting like you're too good for us. I turned to Catherine. She was standing at the top of the stairs. Cat, please. Say something. She looked at our father. Then at me. Then turned and walked away. Without a word. My father pointed at the door. Out. Now. I looked at my mother. She was crying. Silently. Doing nothing. Saying nothing. Like always. I walked to the door. Opened it. And then I stopped. Turned back. You know what the saddest part is, Dad? I would have given up all of it. Every penny, every success, everything, just to hear you say you were proud of me. Just once. That's all I ever wanted. He said nothing. But you can't do that, can you? Because admitting I succeeded would mean admitting you were wrong. And being right is more important to you than your own daughter. I stepped outside. Happy New Year. The door slammed behind me. And I stood there. In the cold. Alone. I didn't go back to California. I couldn't face anyone. I rented a hotel room in the next town. Spent New Year's Eve watching bad television. At midnight I heard fireworks in the distance. I turned off the TV. Lay in the dark. And cried. 4 hours. Not because I was sad about the money. Not because I was sad about the success. I cried because I realized something. I would never have a real family. No amount of money. No amount of success. Nothing would ever change how they saw me. I was the problem. I had always been the problem. And I always would be. I flew back to California on January 2nd. Threw myself into work. That's what I always did. When life hurt too much, I worked. I pushed harder than ever. Longer hours. Bigger deals. More expansion. Work was the only thing that made sense. Work was the only thing I could control. Before we continue, I want to check in with you. Are you still with me? How are you feeling right now? Drop an emoji in the comments. A heart if you're feeling sad. A fire if you're angry at my family. A thumbs up if you're ready to see what happens next. I want to know you're here. 3 weeks after New Year's Eve, I got a phone call. It was from Jessica Hartman, CEO of one of the biggest software companies in the world. DataCore Technologies. $50 billion company. 40,000 employees. And she wanted to meet with me. I flew to their headquarters in Seattle. Sat across from her in a glass conference room overlooking the city. Josephine, I'll cut to the chase. We want to acquire your company. I blinked. Acquire? You mean, buy? That's exactly what I mean. We've been watching you for 2 years. What you've built is remarkable. And we want it. I'm not sure I want to sell. She smiled. Everyone has a number. What's yours? I thought about it. About my team. About the clients who depended on us. About everything we'd built. I'd need guarantees. Protection for my employees. Continued development of the platform. A commitment to keep it affordable for small businesses. Those can all be arranged. And the price. She slid a piece of paper across the table. I looked at the number. And my heart stopped. $1.2 billion. With AB. They wanted to buy my company for $1.2 billion. I didn't accept immediately. I hired the best lawyers. The best negotiators. I protected my team. Protected my clients. Protected everything that mattered. The deal took 3 months to finalize. 3 months of paperwork. 3 months of due diligence. 3 months of meetings and calls and late nights. And at the end of it all, I signed my name. And became a billionaire. The acquisition was announced on a Tuesday. By Wednesday it was everywhere. Every news channel. Every website. Every social media platform. Cedar Valley native becomes billionaire overnight. From basement to billions. The Josephine Palmer story. The woman who proved everyone wrong. My face was everywhere. My story was everywhere. And there was no way my family could ignore it now. My phone started ringing immediately. First Thomas. I didn't answer. Then Catherine. Voicemail. Then my mother. 27 calls in one day. I didn't answer a single one. They started texting. Thomas, Josie, call me back. This is important. Catherine, hey sis, saw the news. Well, let's talk. My mother, please call home. Your father wants to speak with you. My father wants to speak with me. After throwing me out of his house. After calling my dream pathetic. After 29 years of making me feel worthless. Now he wants to speak with me. I turned off my phone. This is the moment, isn't it? The moment. When everything shifts. The moment when the people who rejected you suddenly want back in. Have you ever experienced this? The sudden love that comes when you become successful? Tell me about it. I want to hear your stories. Stayed silent for 2 weeks. No calls. No texts. No contact with my family. I needed time. Time to process. Time to decide what I wanted. Time to figure out who I was going to be. Because money changes things. It doesn't change who you are. But it changes how everyone sees you. And I needed to make sure I didn't lose myself in all of it. After 2 weeks I made a choice. I would go home. Not to forgive. Not to forget. But to face them. To show them exactly who I had become. And to finally, say everything I had been holding inside for 29 years. I called my mother. She answered on the first ring. Josie? Oh, thank God. I've been so worried. I'm coming home this weekend. Really? That's wonderful. Your father will be so. I'm not coming for a reunion, Mom. I'm coming for a conversation. One conversation. And then I'm done. Silence. Josie, what does that mean? It means you have one chance. One chance to hear me. Really hear me. And if you can't do that, then we're done. All of us. Forever. I hung up. And started packing. I could have flown private. I had the money now. But I chose commercial. First class, sure. But commercial. Because I wanted to remember where I came from. I wanted to remember the girl who couldn't afford anything. The girl who worked 3 jobs to pay for college applications. The girl who ate ramen for months because it was all she could afford. Money hadn't changed who I was. I wouldn't let it. Cedar Valley looked exactly the same. Same main street. Same old buildings. Same people who had known me my whole life. But something was different now. They recognized me. Not as Harold Palmer's disappointing daughter. As Josephine Palmer. The billionaire. People stared. Whispered. Waited. Is that her? From the news. I can't believe she's back. I always knew she was special. That last one made me laugh. No, they didn't. Nobody knew I was special. Nobody except me. I parked in my parents' driveway. Same brick exterior. Same manicured lawn. Same house that had never felt like home. I took a deep breath. Walked to the door. Didn't knock. Just walked in. They were all there. My mother. My father. Thomas and his wife. Catherine and her husband. All of them. Waiting. Like this was some kind of intervention. Or trial. My father stood up. Josephine. His voice was different. Softer. Almost humble. I had never heard that tone from him before. Dad. We need to talk. Yes. We do. This is it. The moment of confrontation. The moment 29 years in the making. Before we continue, I want to know, what would you say in this moment? If you had the chance to finally face the people who hurt you, what would you tell them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I sat down across from them. My family. The people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. The people who had failed me again and again. Before anyone says anything, I began, I want to make something clear. I'm not here to gloat. I'm not here to rub my success in your faces. I'm here because I deserve answers. And you're going to give them to me. My father nodded. Ask anything. Why? That's my first question. Why was I never good enough for you? He shifted in his chair. Looked at my mother. She looked away. Josephine, it's Complicated. Uncomplicate it. He sighed. Long. Heavy. And then he said something I never expected. Because you reminded me of myself. What? When I was young I had dreams too. Big dreams. I wanted to leave this town. Build something. Make something of myself. But my father, your grandfather, he shut it down. Told me I was foolish. Told me to stay in my lane. Take over the family business. I stared at him. I never knew that. Because I never told anyone. I buried those dreams. Did what I was told. Took over the dealership. And I resented it. Every single day. And then you came along. This little girl with fire in her eyes. Asking questions. Challenging everything. Dreaming bigger than I ever dared to dream. He wiped his eyes. And instead of being proud I was jealous. Jealous of my own daughter. Because you had the courage I never had. You did what I was too scared to do. And I punished you for it. The room was silent. Thomas looked at the floor. Catherine was crying. My mother had her face in her hands. I didn't know what to say. All those years. All that pain. Because my father was jealous. Because he couldn't handle watching me succeed where he had failed. That's not good enough, I finally said. I know. You destroyed my childhood. You made me feel worthless. You threw me out of this house on Christmas. I know. I needed you. I needed all of you. And you weren't there. Any of you. I looked at Thomas. You called me an embarrassment. I looked at Catherine. You walked away without a word. I looked at my mother. And you just stood there. You always just stood there. Watching him tear me down. Saying nothing. Doing nothing. My mother looked up. Tears streaming down her face. I was scared, Josie. Scared of what? Of him. Of losing everything. Of what would happen if I stood up. She started sobbing. I know that's not an excuse. I know I failed you. I'm your mother and I failed you. And I will never forgive myself for that. This was the moment. The moment I had imagined for years. All of them finally acknowledging what they did. Finally taking responsibility. Finally saying the words I needed to hear. But here's what nobody tells you about moments like this. They don't feel as good as you think they will. The apologies. The tears. The explanations. They don't erase the pain. They don't give you back the years. They don't heal the wounds. They're just words. And words are not enough. I hear you, I said. All of you. I hear your apologies. Your excuses. Your reasons. They waited. Hopeful. But here's the thing. You don't get to hurt someone for 29 years and then fix it with one conversation. You don't get to throw me away and then pick me up when I'm worth $1 billion. My father flinched. What do you want from us, Josephine? I want you to understand something. I didn't come back for your approval. I stopped needing that years ago. I came back to free myself. Free yourself from what? From you. From all of you. From the weight of hoping that one day you would love me the way I deserve to be loved. I stood up. I'm done hoping. I'm done waiting. And I'm done being the problem. Before I could leave, my mother spoke. Wait. There's something you need to know. I stopped. What? She looked at my father. He shook his head. Darlene, don't. She deserves to know, Harold. She's always deserved to know. Know what? I asked. My mother took a deep breath. The reason your father has always been so hard on you, it's not just because of his own failures. Then why? Because you're not his biological daughter. The room went completely silent. Not his daughter. Not his daughter. The words echoed in my head. What are you talking about? My mother was crying again. Before I married your father, I was engaged to someone else. A young man named Daniel Brooks. We were in love. Truly in love. But he was poor. His family had nothing. My parents didn't approve. What does this have to do with me? I got pregnant. With you. And when my parents found out, they forced me to break off the engagement. They arranged my marriage to Harold. He agreed to raise you as his own. But he never let me forget where you came from. I sat back down. My legs couldn't hold me anymore. You're telling me that my whole life, the way he treated me, it was because I'm not his real daughter? He tried. In his own way he tried. But every time he looked at you, he saw Daniel. He saw my mistake. He saw the life I could have had with someone else. I looked at my father. Harold Palmer. The man who raised me. The man who made me feel worthless. The man who wasn't my father at all. Did you ever love me? I asked him. He couldn't meet my eyes. I tried. That's not an answer. I tried, Josephine. But every time I looked at you, I saw him. I saw the man who had your mother's heart before I did. I saw the daughter that should have been his. And I couldn't get past it. A secret hidden for 29 years. A father who wasn't a father. A mother who was too afraid to tell the truth. This story just got more complicated. Are you shocked? Angry? Sad? Tell me how you're feeling in the comments. This is a lot to process. Where is he now? I asked. Daniel. My real father. My mother wiped her eyes. He never left Cedar Valley. He owns a small woodworking shop on the edge of town. He never married. Never had other children. Does he know about me? She nodded. He's always known. He wanted to be part of your life. He begged me. But Harold wouldn't allow it. Said if Daniel ever came near you, he would destroy him. I looked at Harold. This man I had called Dad for 29 years. You kept me from my real father? I did what I thought was best. Best for who? You. You kept me from the one person who actually wanted me. The one person who might have actually loved me. He said nothing. What could he say? I left the house. Didn't say goodbye. Just walked out. Got in my car. And drove to the edge of town. There was a small wooden building. Brooks Woodworking on the sign. Handmade furniture in the window. Simple. Beautiful. I sat in my car for 20 minutes. Trying to find the courage to go inside. 29 years of not knowing. 29 years of being rejected by a man who wasn't even my father. And somewhere inside that shop was the man who was. The bell above the door timed when I walked in. The shop smelled like sawdust and pine. There were chairs and tables and cabinets everywhere. All handmade. All beautiful. And behind the counter stood a man. Late 50s. Gray hair. Kind eyes. Eyes that looked familiar. Can I help you? He asked. I couldn't speak. He looked at me. Really looked. And I saw the moment he recognized me. His face changed. Eyes widened. Hand went to his heart. Josie. I nodded. He stepped out from behind the counter. Fully. Like he was afraid I was a dream that might disappear. I've been waiting for this moment for 29 years. He didn't rush. Didn't overwhelm me. He just opened his arms. And waited. I walked into them. And for the first time in my life I felt like I belonged. We talked for hours. He told me everything. How he and my mother fell in love. How her parents forced them apart. How he begged her to run away with him. How she was too scared to leave. I wanted to fight for you, he said. Both of you. But what could I do? I was nobody. Harold had money. Power. Connections. If I tried to take you, he would have destroyed me. So you just let them have me? No. I watched from a distance. I went to every school play, every graduation, every moment I could. I sat in the back where no one could see me. Just to catch a glimpse of you. I never knew. That was the point. Harold made it clear. If you ever found out about me, he would ruin me. Take everything. Make my life impossible. But you stayed in Cedar Valley. Why? He smiled. Said, tender. 'Cause you were here. And being close to you, even if I couldn't talk to you, couldn't hold you, couldn't tell you the truth, being close to you was better than being anywhere else. Did you ever try to reach out? Once. When you were 16. I saw your essay in the newspaper. The one about starting a technology company. I was so proud. I wrote you a letter. Explaining everything. I was going to mail it. What happened? Your mother found out. She called me. Crying. Begging me not to send it. Said Harold would destroy me if I did. Said it would hurt you more than help you. So you didn't send it? I kept it. All these years. Just in case. He reached into his pocket. Pulled out an envelope. Worn. Old. Addressed to me. I've carried this with me every day. Hoping that someday I'd get to give it to you in person. He handed it to me. I held it. This letter from my real father. Written 16 years ago. Never sent. Can I read it now? It's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. A letter written 16 years ago. From a father who loved her from the shadows. What do you think it says? Before I read it out loud, drop your guess in the comments. What would a father say to the daughter he was never allowed to know? I opened the envelope. Carefully. like it was something precious, which it was. And I read, "My dear Josephine, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I don't know if you'll ever know I exist. But there are things I need to say. Things that have been burning inside me for 16 years. You're my daughter. My blood. My heart. My everything. And not a single day has passed that I haven't thought of you. I saw your essay in the newspaper today. The one about starting a technology company. About dreaming big. About changing the world. And I cried, Josephine. Not sad tears. Proud tears. Because that fire in you, that dream, that ambition, that refusal to be what others want you to be, that comes from me. I had dreams once. Big dreams. I wanted to build things. Create things. Leave my mark on the world. But I was too scared. Too weak. Too willing to accept the hand I was dealt. You are not me. You are better. You have the courage I never had. And whatever happens, whether you succeed or fail, whether you fly or fall, I want you to know something. I am proud of you. I have always been proud of you. And I always will be. If you ever find this letter, if you ever learn the truth, please know that I love you. I have loved you since before you were born. And I will love you until the day I die. Whatever life you build, whatever path you choose, whatever becomes of you, you are my daughter. And that is the greatest gift I have ever been given. With all my love, always and forever. Your father, Daniel. I couldn't stop crying. Neither could he. 29 years of separation. 29 years of silence. And finally here we were. Father and daughter. Together. I'm proud of you, he said. What you've built. What you've become. It's more than I ever could have dreamed. I wish you could have been there. I was. My way. I followed every article. Every interview. Every success. I have a scrapbook at home. Every mention of you I could find. A scrapbook. He nodded. 3 of them actually. You've been busy. I laughed. Through the tears. For the first time in what felt like forever. I laughed. I stayed in Cedar Valley. Not at my parents' house. At a hotel. And I spent every day with Daniel. Getting to know my real father. Hearing stories about my mother when she was young. About their love. About what might have been. About everything I had missed. On the 3rd day my mother came to the hotel. Alone. Can we talk? I let her in. I met him, I said. Daniel. She nodded. I know. He called me. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She sat down. Looked at her hands. Fear. Shame. Guilt. I've spent my whole life being afraid, Josie. Afraid of Harold. Afraid of my parents. Afraid of what people would think. And I let that fear destroy the most important thing in my life. Me. Yes. You. She looked up. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I love you. I've always loved you. Even when I couldn't show it. Even when I was too weak to protect you. Then why didn't you leave? Why didn't you take me and go? Because I was a coward. Because Harold controlled everything. The money, the house, my whole life. And I was too scared to start over. So you sacrificed me instead. Yes. And I will never forgive myself for that. I looked at my mother. This woman who had failed me in every way possible. And I saw something I had never seen before. Not the perfect wife. Not the silent ghost. I saw a broken woman. A woman who had been controlled and diminished for so long that she had forgotten who she was. I wasn't ready to forgive her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I understood her. And understanding was a start. Forgiveness isn't always possible. Sometimes the best we can do is understand. Do you think she should forgive her mother? What would you do in her situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. My siblings came to see me too. Separately. Thomas came first. Josie, I'm sorry. For everything. I was so focused on being what Dad wanted that I forgot how to be a brother. I nodded. I know. Can we start over? I don't know. Maybe. But it's going to take time. A lot of time. Catherine came next. He cried the whole time. I should have stood up for you. I should have said something. But I was so scared of ending up like you, rejected, alone, that I just went along with everything. You chose comfort over family. I did. And I hate myself for it. Don't hate yourself. Just do better. Harold didn't come. I wasn't surprised. But on my last day in Cedar Valley I went to him. To the dealership. Palmer Motors. Where honesty meets value. I walked into his office. He looked older than he had a week ago. Smaller. Defeated. Josephine. I'm leaving today. He nodded. I figured. I want you to know something. I don't hate you. I should. After everything you did. But I don't. Why not? Because hating you would mean you still have power over me. And you don't. Not anymore. He looked at his desk. Couldn't meet my eyes. For what it's worth. I'm sorry. For all of it. It's not worth much. But I hear you. I turned to leave. Josephine. I stopped. I know I wasn't your father. Not really. But those first few years, before the resentment took over, I tried to love you. I really did. I looked back at him. I believe you. Does that count for anything? It counts for something. Not everything. But something. I walked out. And that was the last time I saw Harold Palmer. I moved back to California. But something was different now. The weight was gone. The constant need for approval. The desperate hope for family acceptance. Gone. I still had my company. Still had my success. But now I had something else too. I flew Daniel out to California. Showed him my headquarters. Introduced him to my team. This is my father, I said. My real father. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't ashamed of where I came from. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't pretending. I was whole. With some of my money I started a foundation. The Brooks Palmer Foundation. For kids from broken families. Kids who feel invisible. Kids whose dreams are laughed at. Kids like I used to be. We gave scholarships. Mentorship. Opportunities. All the things I never had. Because if my pain could help someone else, then maybe it wasn't wasted. Maybe it meant something. I'm telling you this story because I want you to know something. You are not your family's opinion of you. You are not the labels they put on you. You are not the problem or the disappointment or the failure. You are whoever you decide to be. And the people who can't see your worth? That's their loss. Not yours. If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. Now I have one final question for you. What's your dream? The one that people laughed at. The one you've been afraid to chase. The one that burns inside you. Drop it in the comments. Because every dream deserves to be spoken. And who knows? Maybe saying it out loud is the first step to making it come true. The clock struck midnight. Another New Year's Eve. But this time I wasn't alone. Daniel was there. My team was there. Friends who had become family. We raised our glasses. Watched the fireworks. And as the new year began, I made myself a promise. No more seeking approval from people who were never going to give it. No more waiting to be seen. No more being invisible. From now on I would see myself. And that would be enough. It would always be enough.